movie that really brought the 3D craze to life was 1953's House of Wax. As the first color 3D movie, it was sort of the avatar of its day. Thanks to an elaborate promotional campaign that had everything from paddle balls to Bela Lugosi with a pet gorilla, House of Wax was one of the year's highest money earners. There was a little controversy about its opening week's box office. Before the movie, teen sensation Eddie Fisher sang a few songs, and it was speculated the huge crowds of teenage girls were there to see Eddie Fisher, not House of Wax. It's kind of the same situation as the theory Meet Joe Black did so well at the box office, because Star Wars nerds kept buying tickets to see the first Phantom Menace trailer. Although the new era of 3D started off with a bang, it fizzled quickly. Even with heavyweight directors like Alfred Hitchcock filming their new movies in 3D, the format was dead by 1955, less than 2 years later. What happened? Now, I wasn't there, but from what I've read, it seems the 3D technology just couldn't get its shit together. In the 1950s, a 3D film required 2 projectors, each throwing one angle of the film on screen, which your 3D glasses combined into a clear picture. In theory. If the 2 projectors weren't synced, the 3D effect didn't work, and the audience got a headache. Apparently, this was a major problem. Pretty soon, theaters didn't want to book 3D movies anymore.
Friday the 13th, Part 3, in 3D.
Nearly 30 years later, the 80s saw a huge resurgence of 3D movies.
Jaws, 3D.
Amityville, 3D.
Basically, if you're making the 3rd installment of a horror series, the filmmakers were mandated by law to film it in 3D, just so they could take advantage of the advertising gimmick. Part 3. D. Seriously. Thank God Halloween 3 came out a year earlier, otherwise it would have been Halloween 3D. I shit you not. The new 3D format was supposed to be superior because it no longer relied on 2 projectors running in sync. Now all you needed was a special lens for the projector, so any theater could be converted quickly to show 3D movies. One I remember seeing at the theaters was Amityville 3D, the 3rd installment of the popular Amityville horror series. Wait a minute. What does that say? This picture is not a sequel to Amityville Horror or Amityville 2: The Possession. I'm guessing that disclaimer was put there for legal reasons? Like the people the first movie was based on wanted to be paid for sequels, so the studio said, look, just because it's called Part 3 and continues the story from the previous 2 films doesn't mean it's a sequel.
You're sure there's no danger? I mean, after all that's happened in this house. That family murdered.
Amityville 3D doesn't hold up too well on a repeat viewing. First of all, this has to be one of the shittiest VHS transfers I've ever seen. Rather than use pan and scan to reframe the widescreen image, they just lop off the sides, regardless of where the action in the shot is. There's so many scenes where we don't see the characters at all. Like, I have no idea what they're supposed to be doing here.
You got it.
Oh, you're strong, Dad.
All right.
The movie starts with a grieving couple attending an obviously phony seance at the old Amityville horror house, where parts 1 and 2 of an apparently unrelated movie took place. After the big floating testicle makes an appearance, the couple busts the 2 people performing the seance as scam artists.
And this gentleman is Mr. David Kohler of the District Attorney's Office. We took the liberty of telling him our plans for tonight, and he was kind enough to come along. If you have any questions regarding the law, I suggest you ask him.
Turns out the couple runs some kind of science magazine, so I guess they go around debunking fake psychics and shit. They seem on the up and up, until the head guy decides he wants to buy the old Amityville house. Shouldn't that be seen as a huge conflict of interest? You expose these people as frauds, you have them arrested, and now you move into their house? I think your readership would be interested in knowing that information. Amityville 3D is typical of the early 80s output, where the 3D effect is largely limited to a cheesy opening credit sequence, followed by lots of shots of things pointing straight into the camera. I don't know, maybe people were more impressed by that kind of thing in the 80s.
What a realistic effect.
Although I have to admit, The 3D shot of the old woman spitting directly into the audience might be the best use to the format until Gasper knows love. So obviously, the Amityville house is still haunted, or possessed, or whatever the fuck. Flies attack. The faucets turn on by themselves. The demonic powers aren't confined to the house. They're able to attack the woman investigator when she's out driving her car. She crashes into a truck, sending a pipe smashing through her windshield in glorious 3D. Although, once again, we can barely see it on the cropped VHS image. At the end of the movie, a big creature from the Black Lagoon looking monster drags one of the scientists into a well, and then the house blows up. I can't tell if this is supposed to be a happy ending or a scary ending. Has the evil been defeated, or is it coming back? Since we don't even understand why the house blew up in the first place, it's hard to tell. As you might expect, Siskel and Ebert were less than enthusiastic about the return of 3D.
1983 saw a rebirth of the 3D fever, which was big in the 1950s and then mercifully disappeared for 20 years before resurfacing in a series of murky, unfocused, boring, technically hapless movies that had the audience desperately struggling to see what was on the screen.
While looking over the old movie ads for Amityville 3D, I came across something surprising. The ad notes, 3D glasses may be purchased at confection bar, 50 cents a pair. I wondered if this was just for Amityville 3D, but I see other 3D movies of the era like Jaws 3D and something called Metal Storm also noted in the ads a 50-cent charge for the 3D glasses. What bullshit! And what's with this having to buy the 3D glasses at the snack bar? You can't get them at the ticket booth when you pay your admission price? You gotta stand in one line, and then go stand in another just to get your stupid glasses? You know what they're doing, right? They think that if you stand in line, you're gonna go, well, as long as I'm here, I might as well buy a popcorn and a large soda. Those crooks! And these weren't even the nice 3D sunglasses we have today, but cheap cardboard glasses with flimsy red and blue gels. I wonder, were there really cheap people who decided the 3D glasses were optional and tried watching the movie without it? The screen would have been covered in red and green double images, but maybe if you closed your eyes it would have been okay? Like I can picture some dad who doesn't want to lay out the $1.50 for 3 pairs of glasses, so he buys his kids 1 pair and then makes them share it? Ugh, no wonder 3D failed for the second time. The whole system was just one big clusterfuck. Well, at least post-Avatar 3D seems to have been perfected. No. Call me when they have 3D without needing the glasses. Then, it'll have been perfected.
No matter what you say, I know I'm right.
Well, that's why you're on the show, I guess.
See 3D on TV. Get ready for the first 3D movie on TV. Dynasty with Kung Fu action.
Shenanigans. It's been a lot of fun, shenanigans. But now we've got to run. It's funny how the minutes seem to fly.